Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We're going to get started with this week's X-Men books as well as miscellaneous Marvel books. Kicking things off with Excalibur, number 11. Where we left off, in Otherworld, Shogo, Jubilee's son, who, while in Otherworld, takes on the form of a dragon for some strange reason that has yet to be explained, though I'm actually fairly confident it will be, was shot down and crashed. The rest of the team was on their way as well to, catch up and find out what happened. So we begin in Otherworld. Two young women are discussing having brought down the beast. And then one notes that it's crying like it wants something, and that it's crying cries like a baby. Obviously wants its mother. Jubilee is locked up in a cell, not happy about the fact that her son has been injured and she's in basically a cell. When the rest of the team shows up, with Captain Britain demanding that Jubilee be surrendered to them. And so the battle is joined. And we get a text portion explaining the priestesses of Opal Luna Saturnine. Students and devotees to Saturnine, the priestesses are organized into students and devotees to Saturnine. The priestesses are organized in two castes, those of the white, who have chosen to live within the walls of the Citadel and the surrounding province, and those of the green, who have taken their training and knowledge to the lands outside of the Citadel and chosen to enact Saturnine's intent rather than her direct will. By living alongside the wild thickets that act as buffers between the province of Avalon or other provinces and the province of Saturnine, they are known to act as healers, hunters, and keepers of the land. Priestesses of the White only leave their lady's tower by donning their crescent diadems and taking a nearly faceless form, obscuring their own identity so that they may act in anonymous accordance with Lady Saturnine's will. Priestesses of the Green follow Saturnine's teaching and intent, believing balance to be a nuanced thing that cannot be corrected by distant declaration and requiring attention, action, and presence. Despite their differences, the Green are not viewed as heretical. Rather, Majestrix allows them, viewing them as a necessary opposition to her own actions, as all things must have opposition. Occasionally, the White and the Green come into contention when orders are given to the priestesses for the White, example, stop Captain Britain and her cohorts, slay that dragon, etc., find themselves in conflict with the Green's more moderate views, who tend to follow a less draconic code of ethics, such as, if you find a wounded dragon in the woods, nurse it back to health, or if a woman is causing explosions in the forest, imprison her until she calms down a bit. Typically, the Green will fight their enemies, as they say, only till their sides stitch, meaning until weariness from battle calms the temper and brings about necessary parley. And so, back with Jubilee, she's getting madder, and then Captain Britain contacts her telepathically outside the cell and basically telling her, hey, look, Shogo's hurt, they're taken care of, we're going to get him taken care of, we're going to, things are a bit complicated, but the priestesses here can help. And so Jubilee calms down and asks to see Shogo. And is released and asks to see Shogo. And so the team's trying to decide what they're going to do. Ricker suggests they plant the gate there. Then they can take Shogo back to Krakoa for healing, get another gate flower, and leapfrog their way back. And while it was suggested to Jubilee they bring him back to Krakoa, they don't know what it would do to him. The wound is larger. The wound in his dragon form is larger than his whole human body. There's a chance that if they take him through the gate, and he would simply fall apart. That night, Richter is having trouble sleeping. He goes out, ventures out into the woods, where he comes upon two of the priestesses near a large crystal growing out of the ground. He touches it, and is able to contact Apocalypse telepathically. He does give Apocalypse something of a sit rep. And they're going to try and get the gate into the Citadel, but they'll see. But it might be a lot more difficult than they thought. And so, Apocalypse then decides to tell Richter a tale of the externals. And when the external, first off, who are the externals? The externals are a group of immortal mutants, including Apocalypse, as well as Selene. They were a thorn in the side of X-Force for a while, way back in the 90s. There was a brief period where it was believed, in fact, that Cannonball was one. Apocalypse explains more about them, such as the fact that they're connected in various ways. Also, they prefer the term High Lords rather than externals. But he goes. Apocalypse goes on to explain that if one of them dies, the others feel themselves become stronger, as though the power of the one who died had distributed amongst the remainder. One of them had a plan to extract her own life energy and place it into a stone. Chandra. Chandra basically was heavily involved in the dealings of the Thieves Guild and Assassins Guilds in New Orleans, to the point where the two would bring a tithe to her every year for favor from her. And so, to explain this, not all of them like the idea of Chandra basically taking her power from herself and putting it into a stone. It is somewhat implied that Selene was among those who did not approve of this. But once the power was transferred into the stone and then placed on Chandra's chest, she was reborn. And Apocalypse explains that their life in stones, their blood in the dirt, their home on Krakoa. Power over the earth is power over us all. Next morning, he goes. Richter explains to the team that they need to leave for the Citadel. Shogo has to stay there. Suggests Jubilee stick around as well, stay there too. And in fact, Betsy seconds this, explaining that she could not, in good conscience, ask Jubilee to come with the rest of the team while Shogo's injured. And so, they head out. But Gambit brings up a really good point. How they get to the Citadel, after all, Saturnine forces managed to shoot down Shogo. It's not like... It kind of makes it seem like they're not going to be able to just walk up and ring the bell. Well, Richter's got a plan for that. And so, they go under it. Richter uses his powers to basically throw the portal flower, the gate flower, into the citadel with Gambit, Rogue, and Captain Britain taking point. When they arrive, and find that the gate has taken hold, Captain Britain basically says, hey, I'll stay here, you guys go back. But Rogue decides that her and Gambit are sticking around too, so Richter goes for the gate. Noting, however, as he does, that there's a crystal required for otherworld gates. He tries to once again contact Apocalypse, who suggests that Richter make himself a firmament, a place on the earth, an anchor for a location, so that Apocalypse can find him and bring Richter to him. Apparently, it's something he's done before. Back with Saturnine and the rest of Excalibur, Saturnine asks just why Captain Britain is storming her castle, and explain that she will not be kept from the Starlight Citadel. And Saturnine decides she likes Betsy much less than her brother Brian as Captain Britain. Though Betsy does want to explain that she's the only Captain Britain that Saturnine's got. So Saturnine, Betsy, Rogue, and Remy begin to walk, but they're like, yeah, hey, don't worry. You two, Rogue and Gambit, done with you guys. You can leave. But Rogue does make some subtle hints to Gambit that maybe they can scout about, find a few things, figure out some, get the lay of the land, and at least of the Citadel. Starting with this big old closet. It's got various things inside, including a deck of playing cards, and apparently the stone that Chandra placed her power in. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Wolverine number 4. Where we left off, Wolverine had stopped the Wolverine and the Marauders had managed to stop the Flower Cartel, at least temporarily. It helped that Wolverine borrowed Magneto's helmet. So the issue begins with Wolverine appearing before the council as he has been called and returning the helmet. Magneto is not too happy about this. And Wolverine says, hey, I got you drunk and stole your helmet. You once tore the adamantium off my skeleton. Call it square. And to be, hey. Okay, sure. But Xavier actually explains that Wolverine was invited to the council not to be lectured, but so that they would make a request of him, as they would prefer to work cooperatively in the future. Xavier explains there are matters of some importance to national security, and Well, Wolverine kind of simply says that talking gets in the way of doing. Xavier tries to reason with Logan telepathically, but Logan reveals that yeah, he didn't just use Magneto's helmet to ward off the Pale Girl. He also used it to relieve himself. Anyway, the little text portion here called the Hidden Gate. He doesn't believe in Krakoa. He wants to, but he can't. Not yet. Because when he takes in a big drink of this place, when he hears the children laughing and sees the flower-filled meadows and smells the salty breeze pouring off the ocean, he can't help but fall back on what he knows. And this is what he knows. Every time he's fallen in love, it's ended in grief or betrayal. Every time he's believed in a new beginning, it's come to an end. He's done as much wrong as right. There's a balance to life, but there's no balance here in Krakoa. None that he sees anyway. Even Paris, the most disgustingly beautiful city in the world, has got 6 million skeletons stacked in its catacombs. 6 million corpses he can believe in. Shadows he can believe in. That's where he's headed now, the Shadow Country, where the sun rarely shines and he can be alone in the company of others. Because here, no matter where he goes, someone is always watching, listening, supervising. The Summerses, Xavier, Sage, even the island itself. He feels their eyes crawling all over him like spiders. So now and then he has to escape. He hikes through the woods, leaving behind the perfume-bombed meadows and happy hand-holding mutants. Sunlight filters green light through the canopy as he heads toward the center of the island, the ground angling upward gradually and then sharply into cliffs. Here he begins to climb. As the winds knock him about, he forces his fingers in the cracks, hoists himself onto rocky outcroppings, and startles birds squawking from their nests. At last, he reaches the ridge he seeks. He pauses here and looks about as if to take in the view. The sunlight sparkling off the ocean, the clouds blimping through the sky, but really he is checking to see if anyone followed him. Then he steps into the shadows of a stony alcove. Here he has secretly planted a gate. He looks over his shoulder one last time before stepping into the shimmer of it. Logan comes out of said gate in Canada, outside of a bar called the Red Tavern, which Logan claims stinks like sweat and the ghost of 1,000 cigarettes. Clientele, truckers, loggers, survivalists, drifters are looking to punish themselves with drink. The floors are dirty with sawdust to soak up blood and vomit. There are bullet holes in the walls and teeth in the urinal. They serve nothing but beer and bottom rail whiskey, and the juke plays nothing but country. Turns out there's a storm coming, though. And the bartender informs Logan that if he's coming in, he's staying in. Logan puts some quarters into the box and starts off with Whiskey Bent and Hellbound by Hank Williams Jr. There's a man playing pool who doesn't much care for Logan's taste in songs, and in fact breaks the pool cue over his head. Logan explains that if his drink spilled, he'd be angry. The bartender informs him that it didn't. Logan then headbutts the guy, breaking his nose. Turns out he's just annoyed. And he tells the bartender, asks the bartender what he can tell him about the guy while the bartender's pouring him another drink. Bartender doesn't know anything about him, but there's a familiar scent. Can't quite place it. And then lawman comes in. He came across a gutted deer and put his car in the ditch. And the storm's picking up, so maybe just stick around for a while. And the officer asks for a beer, and so the bartender says, okay, one beer, then I'll help you get on your way. There's an older woman who starts talking with Logan. Explains that she can't see too well. She can feel his eyes looking over her. And she knows what he's thinking. She doesn't look like she belongs there. Which is exactly what Logan's thinking. But Logan's going to wonder, maybe he's met her before. His memory's got holes in it. The woman explains that Logan's way much too young for that. Though he counters by explaining he's older than he looks. But he's starting to feel off. So he stumbles into the bathroom. There's a loud noise outside. The bartender figures the wind must have brought a tree on the roof. It suggested that the cop gets back out on patrol. Lots of people are going to might have been in trouble tonight. We get another text portion. Welcome to the Mutant Trauma Support Group. You are safe, valued, and important here. This is an adults-only group that was founded to help all those who have suffered mental and physical damage from mutants. You are welcome to share your personal experience in this safe, warm, comforting place where you will learn you are not alone. We are not professionals, but we do offer love and compassion to all who join. Visibility, invitation only. Membership, private, must be approved by host. We then get the 5 rules. No hate speech or degrading comments except toward mutants, since they all deserve to rot in hell. All. Respect everyone's privacy. We deserve our mutual trust, but we can absolutely dox mutants. In fact, it is encouraged. No promotions or spam, but fundraiser posts are permitted so long as they pertain to medical funds for mutant-related pain or travel/equipment funds for exacting some sweet, sweet revenge. When talking about the names of mutants, use your special alpha code in the pinned post to camouflage who you're talking about so that their evil web trawlers can't find us. Yikes! We might be hurting today, but we can hurt them tomorrow. Again, we are not doctors, but vengeance is the best medicine. Logan mentions that back with Logan, he explained that time gets slippery and the world goes wobbly. He barely has the sense to question whether someone poisoned him, or if the rot gut is 1,000 proof. But then he notices some blood. And the man he headbutted earlier is laying dead in the stall with a massive bloody hole in his chest. Or there's a tattoo on his neck. The Brotherhood Militia, years ago in Oregon. The cop pops in, sees the dead body of Logan, and figures, well, Logan must have done it, and hits him with a tranq dart. Logan comes to, chained to a chair. The old woman explains that they believe in something called frontier justice up there. The cop, it basically just happened in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Wolverine's outed. And the bartender explains that he's figured it out. The mutants don't know that Logan's there. And he doesn't want it, and Wolverine's not going to want to let everyone know he's out playing human. Apparently, he comes in once or twice a week in civilian clothes, thousands of miles away from Krakoa. Further explain that, Wolverine can be shot, cut, is poisoned, won't do much. Logan then looks at some of the others around, including a rather Well, basically a crazy guy, crazy kid. Wolverine recognizes him. And just decides they're going to ice Logan. Apparently, the crazy kid Logan recognizes from Dunwich Sanatorium. He was one of the patients. The cop then says, hey, what are we going to do? You're going to ice him? How are you going to ice him? I mean, you just told me he can't be killed. But the bartender goes on to add that, this is the frozen north. Open up a hole, nudge him in. Done. However, Omega Red is watching. So, they drag Logan out, still chained to a chair. They start cutting the hole. And the bartender tells his story. Years ago, he's bartending in Madripoor where a brawl broke out. Logan, likely at the time using the alias of Patch, was at the center of it. Thrown chair hit the bartender's fiancée in the head and cracked her skull. Blood clot killed her a week later. Well, dude came to Canada to escape the memory. So Logan then asked the old woman what her story is. Well, she's the Gorgon's mother, and apparently the Gorgon's taste in women, as described in the story he first appeared in, Wolverine, Enemy of the State, is apparently he has what one might call mommy issues. And the bartender goes on to explain there are support groups that exist because of all the pain and trauma mutants have caused. And so, when Wolverine first showed up at the bar, the bartender recognized him and started looking online for people who are interested in payback. Gorgon's mother explains it to Logan that this is the part where he begs and they ignore him. And Wolverine simply says, whatever they do to him, he deserves it. He deserves every kind of pain. He goes on to say that, he's done wrong. Mutants have done wrong. But they're trying to do better. The bartender says, hey, that's all well and good, but you killed Fred. Logan explained that he didn't kill him, but the scent catches his nose. As the bartender asks, if Logan didn't kill Fred, who did? As the cop's severed head lands in the snow in front of him. Logan tries to get them to let him go, but he's not worried about himself. He's worried about them. As the former sanitarium inmate is run through by a carbonadium tendril. And soon the Gorgon's mother and the bartender are also just as dead. Omega Red explains that he's been following Logan, and he knows why Logan comes there. Explaining that the two of them are the same. They can only tolerate so much sunlight. Darkness is their truth. And when Logan's at the bar, he's grinding a thumb into the rotten parts of his heart and mind, and then anesthetizing the pain with liquor. As a swarm of vampires arrive on the ice, Omega Red continues saying that he also came to drink, but instead of rock-cut whiskey, he's drinking pain. And Logan's pain is delicious. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Cable, number 3. where we left off, Cable and Esme were captured by the Galadorian Space Knights. We begin with a flashback to when the younger Cable killed his older self. And Esme's in his head and explains that reliving that moment is not great self-care. She's trying to wake him up because they're in trouble. And she explains that they're not in Philadelphia at the moment. They're at the North Pole, in fact. Turns out the Space Knights are trying to use the sword, the Light of Galador, to transform Earth into their home planet with the power of the sword. This was, of course, their backup plan because, well, it turns out while they were hibernating, their planet was destroyed, so they can't have their flesh body restored to them. Cable is actually really stoked about the fact that apparently the sword could remake the world. And they don't understand just how Cable was able to wield the sword, but he does mention he is a cyborg. And so he begins negotiating with the Space Knights and promptly gets punched for his efforts and then, well, shoots at them. And they do want to know how it is he can wield this, how he can interface with the blade. But he says, "Hey, I'll show you instead." And, they want to get back to their planet. And they want their civilization back. And so Cable says, "Oh, what if we could keep your planet and you can get your aunt? What if those on Earth kept their what if Earth got to keep being Earth and the Galadorians got their planet back? And we need a time machine." Well, Cable does have access to one, sort of. Though one of the Space Knights mentions that they don't understand that Cable has a time machine, but how is Earth so horrible? Though Cable said you can't fix everything, but at least they have a planet. So so he says, that he'll give them the ability to go back in time and save their planet. Then they don't need the sword. He gets to keep it. This is agreeable. And so he has asked me to find out where the body of older Cable was buried. Asking Emma, and Emma is of course concerned and asks if she wants to know what Cable's up to and if she needs to come get Esme. Well, and so in Westchester they find that someone already has claimed the body. The King of Staten Island. Deadpool. Keep in mind, this is Kid Cable's first meeting with Deadpool. And Deadpool's not too happy to see Kid Cable. He's a little pissed that, Kid Cable killed Deadpool's pal. Though Kid Cable does point out that, Deadpool killed older Cable a month before Kid Cable did. And did a really bad job at it. In fact, if Deadpool had done the job right, Kid Cable wouldn't have to do it himself. And yeah, Kid Cable cannot imagine ever being Wade's friend. After all, Wade robbed Nathan's grave. And so Cable takes everyone to, so Deadpool takes everyone to Cable's crypt. And apparently, it turns out that taxidermists won't taxidermy people, no matter if you're a king or not. Something about laws and morals. So, Deadpool put Cable in Lucite. And he's basically a pool table now. Kid Cable, however, just basically cracks open the Lucite, rips off his future self's cybernetic arm, and him and Esme and the Space Knights leave. We then get a note from Cable to Deadpool. Wait, it pains me to ask us this, but I need a favor. After Strife nearly killed me the last time, I decided to reorganize my defense. My enemy is my equal, but he does not have the same resources I bring to the fight. He does not have my allies, the people I call my friends, my family, or you. In the unlikely event that I die, assume that he was behind it, regardless of what it looks like, and do not let my body, the prosthetic arm, or any ordnance fall into his possession. If friendlies bear the body, intervene when you can move safely. I'll find you later. Thanks. Cable. And then we get Deadpool's response. My dearest Nathan, I have received your distressing missive, and I now take my quill in hand to let you know that I am well and hope my correspondence finds you similarly also well. I can think of no greater responsibility than to collect your earthly remains after the other side of a heinous attack. I shall keep a snow shovel and some garbage bags with me at all times in anticipation of the dreadful news reaching me that something has happened to your old ass. As you know, I have been something of an amateur funeral director for many years, and knowing that my work has caught your eye means the world to me. I will, of course, keep a full accounting of expenses incurred should it become necessary for me to clean up. I have enclosed a daguerreotype of me to keep with you in the pouch closest to your heart. Sincerest sincerities, D. Poole. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, the Cult of X is meeting. Or the Order of X. And this is apparently a very special chapter. A chapter that requires that members do not lift a blade unless they're ready to draw blood. And so, the two new members are draw blood by carving X's into their face like that. And there's the leader of the order is presented with a mutant girl. We see who the Monsignor is, but who the leader of the cult, at least this chapter of the order is. But offhand, I'm not entirely sure who it is. That is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Conan, Battle for the Serpent Crown, number 4. Where we left off, Imus Champion had managed to retrieve the Serpent Scepter. Black Panther had informed, or looking at the altar, Black Panther informed Conan of where he could find the crown, Atlantis. However, Champion was also on his way there. So the issue begins. Imus Champion speaking with Mephisto, who's quite pleased that Champion's managed to retrieve the scepter. And does tell him a bit about what's going on. Many millennia ago, the followers of a certain god Set spread death and tyranny across the world. Every sacrifice empowered Set, but for the most zealous followers this was not enough. In their eyes, the priests of Set had grown fat and complacent. They formed their own secret faction, the sect of the Red Serpent. Basking in the bloodbath as the sect slaughtered temple after temple, Set's rival, the elder god Worm, sought to sow further discord among Set's followers. He began to whisper to the sect of the Red Serpent. He planted in their minds a notion that a treacherous god such as Set was most truly worshipped by treachery, by being defied. Worm presented Set's traitorous priest with the Serpent Scepter, an artifact that allows a mortal to unlock untapped powers of the Serpent Crown, while resisting Set's will. Together, the Serpent Crown and Serpent Scepter should have been unstoppable, but when the sect of the Red Serpent tried to use their combined power, they soon found it too much for the frail human frame. The Serpent Crown went on to be worn by others, the centerpiece of a dozen plots. The scepter was hidden by the ragged remnants of the Red Serpent, to be discovered only by one who had proven himself by bathing in the blood of Set priests, Conan. And yes, and Mephisto had asked that tells Champion not to kill Conan and his compatriot, as theirs should be the first souls he claims when he is free. And of course, they'll make it worth Mephisto's while. And he sends Champion to Atlantis. In the Atlantic Ocean above Atlantis, Nyla, Conan's ally, is trying to convince Conan to drink a concoction made by Princess Shuri that will allow him to breathe underwater and survive the depths, and will also turn him blue. Nyla is able to convince him to do so, and he does. When they get to the point they have to be at, Conan and Nyla dive from the airship into the ocean, making their way into the depths, where they find that Champion has beaten them to the temple. And so, Conan begins fighting Champion, and their fight, however, is interrupted by Namor, seeking justice for the killed guardsman. Nyla, meanwhile, is looking for the crown and discovers that it's gone. Because Champion has it, and he placed it over his pressure suit and forces Namor and Conan to fight each other. And as they fight each other, and as well as the serpent, as well as the will of the Serpent Crown, Nyla sneaks up on Champion and does not manage to knock the crown off of his head. Turns out both Namor and Conan want to kill Champion. However, he summons forth the Serpent Scepter, stopping all three. Once again places the crown on his head, sends Namor to the middle of the Sahara Desert, and takes Conan and Nyla prisoner to be delivered to Mephisto, explaining that the two will die slowly in Las Vegas. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Star, number 4. Now, it's been a while since we've had a new issue of Star, so Star was actually a reporter who was briefly empowered and tried to basically steal, or basically tried to do kind of attempt to kill a whole bunch of people in Times Square with a device that had been planted in her chest until Captain Marvel ripped it out of her. However, now she has the Reality Stone. And while she's gotten some aid from the Scarlet Witch, apparently, and also encountered a certain Norse god of mischief, someone's watching her. That someone being the former lieutenants of Thanos, known as the Black Order. And once again, Star's path is crossed. That of Captain Marvel's. The two of them are fighting. Star has created armor around herself with the Reality Stone, but she's still not sure how to go about all this. And in fact, Captain Marvel shoots through the armor, but Star blasts Captain Marvel with some laser eyes while the Black Order watch. Black Swan kind of suggests that maybe the Order should just get the hell out of there, come back some other time when their quarry is less visible. And Proxima Midnight agrees. However, Corvus Glaive explains that, well, it's unfortunate Captain Marvel's there. Every moment the Order waits is a moment that another hero or villain discovers what Star truly is. Not to mention, more time for Star to learn how to wield the stone. She has already progressed this Proxima saw. So they just have to wait for the right moment. The fight continues, and the two of them, resulting in Star getting thrown into a building by Captain Marvel. And it turns out that, technically speaking, yes, Captain Marvel did kill Star. We get a flashback to just after that, when she woke up on the raft in a body bag. And it's explained that they tried to save her, but she died before they even got her on the table. She gets tased, and turns out she's at the raft. One of the guards explains that his cousin was at Times Square when Star pulled her, as he puts it, attempted murder trick. So, maybe the idea being that she should be understanding if they don't really care what she thinks. So they put a power inhibitor on her, and then later on, in her cell, Star's just kind of thinking about the fact she can't believe that Captain Marvel killed her. Then she breaks her collar and notices a glow from inside her from inside the bandage up around her chest. That glow is the Reality Stone. And so, in the present, Carol's actually trying to, hey, look, I'm not trying to continue fighting you. I'm not going to try and kill you. I'm just trying, apparently Captain Marvel's just trying to contain her. And make Star pay for her crimes and not hurt others. However, before she can finish, she's attacked by the Black Order. And Captain Marvel does kind of point out that they're probably more interested in the stone than its human host. So it's decided that, temporary truce, and Captain Marvel suggests that Star throwing forth Scarlet Witch. Black Order attacks. Black Dwarf gets knocked to elsewhere. Black Dwarf basically, ignores Captain Marvel and goes after Star. But then Captain Marvel comes back into the room, tosses Black Swan off of Star, and suggests that Star remove Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight's weapons. So she's disarmed, and the glaive and the spear vanish. Corvus Glaive, or Ebony Maw shows up, and Captain Marvel explains to Star that Maw has mental powers, and so Star sends him to the moon. And Ebony Maw, I have to admit, was kind of creative of her to do that. However, Corvus's glaive has since reappeared, and he then joins the fight. Actually does manage to, at least get Captain Marvel's arm, or cut on the arm, not cut it off, just like that. Star notices that Black Swan dropped something. She tosses it to Captain Marvel, who then pushes it, which seems to open some kind of portal. And, well, Star kind of has a, oh crap, what have I done this time moment. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final book for this video. Maestro, #1. Okay, so, first off, a quick primer on who Maestro is. Back in the 90s, there was, during Peter David's run on The Incredible Hulk, there was a story done. It was not a story in the actual title. It was done as either just a single volume graphic novel or a mini. I honestly do not remember. But the story was called Future Imperfect. In it, the Hulk ended up in the future. Dystopian, a post-apocalyptic future. The heroes were all dead. And ruling what remained of the world was none other than the Hulk, now calling himself the Maestro. The Maestro's personality, it was this kind of it was revealed that Maestro went, further exposure to radiation caused him to go a little crazy, and he was truly evil. Some writers will state that the Maestro personality still resides within Banner's mind. Others tend to ignore it. I will admit that is something I'm curious curious about when it comes to Immortal Hulk, as Immortal Hulk does seem to be utilizing the Hulk's various personalities. Anywho, so the issue begins with the Professor Hulk punching a Sentinel's head off and claiming he's got the best backup, that being Thor, Captain America, and Wolverine. And him and Betty sit down for dinner with their kids, Rick and Thaddeus. But Rick and Thaddeus are being rambunctious, and Betty tells them to sit down, but one of the two says that they don't have to do what Betty says because she's dead. And then Betty starts having it. Betty, when talking to Hulk, who's wondering just what the hell's going on, basically goes to an error message, and the world goes black. The Avengers are there and explain Mysterio was messing with his mind. But Hulk, something's not right, and so he leaves, and he's not in a peaceful house. He's in some kind of techno room, and then the Avengers show up. There's a nice little nod to Avengers Age of Ultron as Black Widow tries to calm him down. Hulk hits Thor and notices that there's no sound. Usually he'd hear some kind of thud or a crunch, some kind of onomatopoeia. There's nothing. It's like he's in a dream. The Avengers go after him, and Hulk does the whole, thunderclap thing. Knocks all of but Vision out because Vision is intangible. Vision sticks his hand into the Hulk's head, explaining that what he's about to do is going to hurt. Hulk grabs Vision's arm and tells him to get out of his head, and then he comes to. Hooked up to various machines. A woman comes in, asking him to stay calm. And soon enough, he's faced with AIM troopers. Their weapons actually pack a punch now, which surprises Hulk. But he can still pack a punch too. The rest of the base is alerted. Further down in the base, vapor from the UFOs and the Abomination are shown to be present. Unconscious, but present. Hooked up to machines just like Hulk was. Then MODOK arrives, and, well, Hulk asks MODOK where Betty Ross and Rick Jones are, and MODOK, looking old as hell, says they're long dead. Hulk asked what MODOK did, and MODOK, I didn't do anything. And then when Hulk charges him, MODOK doesn't say, if you want to kill me, go ahead. I'm letting you do this. You can end my life if you want to. Go for it. And Hulk almost gives him, but then realize, actually does hear the truth in what MODOK's saying, and so he explains. First off, it turns out that MODOK forgot that Hulk was even down there. His circuitry's failing, which he credits to age, plus the fact that anyone who would have been smart enough to fix him is long dead. And everything breaks down, including the program that kept Hulk engaged. And so Hulk asks, how did everyone die? Who did it? The leader, Dr. Doom, AIM, and MODOK says they did. When Hulk asks which they, somebody explained, the great they. Whenever you complain about the awful things they are doing to the world because of their stupid decisions, and he explains your leaders, your governments, the great unwashed, they, World War III. Explaining that the terrorist group set off nuclear weapons in both the United States and Moscow and convinced both nations through their computers that they were responsible. From there, it was only a matter of time. By the time it was sorted out, 60% of humanity was gone. Then, some years later, came the next smaller offensive. They called themselves the Black Scythe, evocative of the weapon wielded by the classic Grim Reaper imagery. They came to the conclusion that humankind's time on the world was over. That it would be best for us to simply go the way of the dinosaurs. While there were still millions dying of radiation poisoning, that wasn't sufficient for the Black Scythe. They unleashed a specially prepared gas in Philadelphia, Chicago, London, hundreds of cities throughout the world, and it was rather efficient. Turns out AIM seized individuals whose bodies seemingly made them benefit from radiation, gamma ray, radiation, cosmic rays, and the like. None of the classic heroes, as MODOK doubted they would be interested in aligning with MODOK's desires. The desire mainly just being survival. MODOK points at his AIM soldiers, explaining that they have family, friends, they want to live just like everyone else. This is, they're explaining they're an AIM facility below the streets of Los Angeles, and so Hulk should be thanking them. Well, he smacks MODOK and says thanks, and makes his way out. He is. At first, Hulk, maybe this is all a lie. One of the heroes would stop something like that somehow, but he doesn't. Right, like they stopped Chernobyl, or the fall of the Twin Towers, and the thousands who die in mass shootings. And he goes on to say to himself that the fact that you can't save a world is determined to destroy itself. And so, Hulk gets to the surface and realizes that MODOK was right. And Hulk realizes that what really hurts is knowing that even if the terrorist group hadn't started it, sooner or later the governments would have done it themselves. So eventually MODOK finds Hulk at the Hollywood sign. And it's the only thing left, really. And so MODOK wants Hulk to come with him. So within 27 years, radiation will decrease sufficiently and they'll be able to leave the shelters. Though Hulk's like, why? To rebuild? And of course. And Hulk goes on to add, why? So that he can thrive, or regenerate, thrive, blow itself up again? Well, Hulk has modified the Hollywood sign, so now it simply says one much shorter word. Hulk. He also makes a point of asking MODOK to stop calling him Dr. Banner. Because he's Hulk full-time. At least for now. And that is where the issue ends. And that's it for this portion of the roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the search box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.